Nice shirt.
Thank you. Got it for doing. Yeah, I got it at a charity shop when I was out shopping today.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad all three of us could finally meet up in this mall for a coffee. It's been ages since we've seen each other in person.
A lot of balloon merchants, though.
Yeah.
I don't
How
like
are you,
the
Alex?
clown. I don't like the clown. Can you make him go away, please? I don't like him.
What clown
Don't
are you
mention not be
talking
dressed
about?
as clowns in malls.
Jason!
Oh, that guy's really shouting quite loud. It's very rude.
It's
really
very rude.
Jason!
I'm actually
It's
kind of
quite
struggling to hear
Jason!
like, him think. Like he's
Jason!
getting louder and louder.
Jason!
Guys.
Jason!
Oh, sorry.
Jason!
Guys.
What?
Jason!
What?
I
Jason!
can't hear you. I'm really sorry. Let's leave it. Let's go somewhere else.
12:30. Okay,
Jason!
got it.
Jason!
No, let's go
Jason!
somewhere else.
Jason!
Yeah, I could eat.
Jason! Jason!
Alex, can you hear what I'm saying?
Jason!
Let's go somewhere
Jason!
else.
I think it's
Jason!
raining.
Jason!
Oh, for God's sake. Right, let's go
Jason!
somewhere else.
Jason!
This episode contains spoilers
Jason!
for Heavy Rain.
We're professionals.
Hello and welcome back to the Game Club podcast. One of our what we call mainline episodes, but I don't really know what that means anymore. I am your host for today, Joey Fitz. I am joined as ever by my two fantastic and underwhelming co-hosts. I'll let you decide which is which. Let's start with Alex. Hello.
Hello, my jacket is very wet, and let's be real, Two Blocks from Blighty's the main line now.
Oh no, that's
God
not
help
good
this
for anyone.
podcast.
And also Tim, we're joined by you. How are you doing?
VR glasses are getting really real these days.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that in the main episode. But before we get into the episode, we always have a question. So, guys, earlier this week, Oblivion came out. The remake of Oblivion. How are we feeling about it?
Oh, it's good. It's a good
Yeah?
remake. It's kept all the dumb and enhanced the stuff that needs to be enhanced. Great remake.
Nice, Alex.
I was annoyed that I had to play this over the weekend rather than Oblivion.
Okay, cool. My question is, what's the best remake or remaster or retelling in video games?
Oh. Do you know what? Are we counting reboots in this?
Yeah, why not?
I'm gonna say Hitman had a really good reboot. Like a
Yeah?
really because before, don't get me wrong, the Hitman games were good, but they were quite quite isolated in themselves, and like it felt very much like you were.
They felt very limited with the hardware that they were on.
Yeah, and now we've got Hitman World of Assassinations, which obviously has the first 3 games plus whatever courses the devs are pumping out. And it just feels a lot more interconnected, and it feels like you can actually take stuff that you've learned from previous missions and apply it to future missions, like an assassin probably would. It's great. Good remake.
Nice. Alex?
I've got to say, the first one that comes to mind is the Halo Master Chief Collection, because I've got a long history with playing the Halo games, and it was nice to be able to go back to sort of the original Halos with their blocky ass models and play it in a sort of 21st century kind of look. It was nice, but that was an entire remaster. They didn't change anything but graphics and quality of life stuff, so it was the nostalgia with modern graphics.
Yeah.
And it
we
was a
did
great
our
time.
episode on Halo, obviously. The thing I was really impressed about with it was the fact that they have a button that allows you just to go back to the old graphics.
Old graphics.
I thought that was really cool.
Can we talk about how wild it was that the old Xbox controllers had, instead of like the bumpers, they had a black and white button.
Oh god, they did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And weren't they next to the D-pad?
They were. It depended on the controller you had. I think if you had the Duke, like the really big one, it was next to the ABXY. But if you got the compact one, it was next to the D-pad. I think I could be mistaken on that. Joey, what's your favorite reboot, remake, reimagining?
I always think of a game that desperately needed a remake, and that's The Last of Us 1 and 2.
Oh, dire for scraping for a remake. Those two.
I don't want that to be construed as me shitting on The Last of Us. I really like the two, but there was no need for a remake whatsoever. I really am quite fond of, despite my recent Nintendo bashing, the remake of Ocarina of Time for the 3DS.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good, and I thought they integrated the touch things really, really well into it.
Have you seen the amount of people that, not Ocarina on Majora's Mask, who do like covers of real life songs using the instruments from Majora's Mask? No. It's really well done. Like, there's a really good Toto one, like of Africa.
Toto like of Africa.
Yeah, you know that one. It's a Toto.
Have you seen any of these, Alex?
I can't say that I have. I was just trying to think of more remasters. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, no, I'm still here. I've just pressed the button.
He was so angry at that. I've been playing the BioShock remasters recently for reasons. That's really nice to see that come back in nice modern graphics.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Shadow of the Colossus,
answers.
Also great remake. End of my soapbox. Thank you.
My sad gaming truth is I've never properly played Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, it's so good.
It's just locked to PlayStation products.
Emulate that.
We at the Game Club Pod do not condone.
Endorse pirating.
Did I say emulate? I had a frog in my throat. I meant buy it legally. Wink.
Right. Speaking of emulation, look forward to our next mainline episode where all three of us own DSs. So, Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is a action adventure story game. It's a giant QuickTime event.
It's a visual novel.
It's a visual novel released on the PlayStation 3 on the 23rd of February 2010. It was developed by Quantic Dream, which is one of those studios where the words are words, but they don't actually mean anything together.
It's a David Cage studio.
It's a David Cage studio. It is on the PlayStation 3, the PlayStation 4, and Steam, where all four of us... Four? Jesus, there's a fourth one in the room.
The ghost.
Someone in the room with us. All three of us played it on Steam. It was nominated for BAFTA Game Award for Best Game of the Year 2010, and it won... the BAFTA Award for Story in Video Games, the BAFTA Game Award for Original Score, and the BAFTA Game Award for Technical Innovation. So it must be absolutely flawless. We're going to go to original thoughts with Tim.
I have written things down for this episode as opposed to typing them up because I played this thing entirely on the Steam Deck, and I have thoughts about its performance.
Okay.
So the 5 lines I've written down all start with real consequences. Big fan of the real consequences in this game. We'll go into it in a bit. Wooden acting. I thought half the cast did not do a great job of voice acting or the facial capture. And granted, I accept there's probably a product, like a hardware limitation for the time, but that doesn't excuse the voice acting. Nonsense twist. This game is trying to go for a, oh my god, big reveal twist, and it was just a twist is good if you can piece the puzzle pieces together once the thing has been revealed, or if you can work it out for yourself. If it comes out of nowhere, it's not a good twist. It's
okay.
And I thought this twist came out of nowhere personally. One of my favorite things about this game on Steam Deck happened in the first 5 minutes. So, a lot of this game involves a lot of, and I'm going to use massive air quotes here, innovative controls where you have to like pour a pot of coffee by holding the right trigger and turning the analog stick slightly so your wrist turns or whatever the case may be, and also hold the left trigger down to hold the coffee cup because otherwise you'll drop it. It's designed to be really immersive, and it clearly wasn't designed with the Steam Deck in mind because a lot of the controls involve shaking or jerking the controller around. And when I was met with the prompt, shake the controller to brush your teeth, and I'm sat on the couch shaking my Steam Deck violently next to Payne, who has no idea what I'm playing. She looked at me like I was a psychopath, and I'm just shaking this thing left to right. But the problem is, I don't know if it was the game or the Steam Deck. I don't think it's the Steam Deck because I've never had a problem with gyro controls in any other instance on the Steam Deck. But this game really took some convincing with the shaking controls. There were points where you like had to like in the VR goggle mode, which we'll get to again later on, where you had to like swipe backgrounds and files away, and I was there like really jerking the deck left and right, like just make this thing just move. It did not
really jerking it,
just really jorking it. It's It doesn't translate well to Steam Deck, and I recognize that it's because they couldn't have possibly planned it for the Steam Deck. But I don't know if it's like a modern port thing, and I'm really hoping you guys can back me up with like the fact that the controls, the motion controls rather, don't really work so well for this game on PC at the very least. And the last thing I've written is it's a little bit wanky. It definitely is the kind of game to look in the mirror and say, "Would you f me? I would." Me, it's so kind of up its own arse about, ooh, look how immersive it is. And again, it's going to sound like I'm picking on the VR goggles bit. The VR goggles section of this game, where you play as one of the detectives who's working on a case, seems so out of place. It's just, there is the two main sides of the story, which is a gritty cop trying to uncover a murder, or a murderer rather, and a dad who has lost his son. And then you've got his dad who, not his dad, you've just got a detective who is just sat there with what is essentially an Oculus Rift, like going through Microsoft Word. And it really, really, really takes you out of the game, where it makes you spend a good 5 to 10 minutes picking a wallpaper. And when you're playing on motion controls that don't accommodate for it, it goes from immersive to just annoying. And it's definitely it had that air of, oh wow, this would be cool on your PS3, on your large plasma screen TV. But we're in 2025 now, and I get they couldn't plan for that. But equally, that thing was so out of place. I have to feel like it was put in there purely just to showcase what they were doing with the game. Those are my initial thoughts. Very self-righteous, very masturbatory. I liked the branching story paths. I thought it was cool that there was actually like real consequences for failing to do things. But that is about as far as my enjoyment goes.
Okay, cool. The reason I went to Tim first is because Alex has already made it very clear to us how he feels about this game.
He loves
it. Right, strapping, guys. Alex, how did you feel about the game?
I'm going to start with good things first. So yeah, what Tim said, branching storylines, very real consequences, great. The music was good. The sound design was a bit shit, but the music was nice. And I can appreciate that they were trying to tell a very difficult story around loss and grief and sort of psychological issues, all of that. But it was just, this would have been suited as any other storytelling medium. It would have been a good book, it would have been a good audiobook, it would have been a good graphic novel, a good visual novel game, and anything like that. It is not an open world quick time event game. If they'd done it the way Telltale's does the Walking Dead series and things like that, or even sort of the way Doki Doki Literature Club handled the quote-unquote gameplay elements, it would have told the story better. And I feel like the really annoying controls with all the quick time events and how it was just constant quick time. It was because it wasn't like one quick time event, then 5 minutes of story. It was quick time event, quick time event, quick time event in rapid succession. It really takes you out of the story that they're trying to tell because you're there looking at the screen going, right, I need to press W, and now I need to hold down S, and then I need to wiggle my mouse left and right. The half and quarter circle inputs did not work on an Xbox controller. They just do not work. You can get the horizontal or the vertical movement, but as soon as you've got to do that half circle, it doesn't work.
I'm glad that wasn't just me because I found that as well. I started playing this on controller and really struggled. The second it was I remember the quick time event because it was him. Because your first person you play as is an architect, and he's sketching out a building he's designing, and I was like, why isn't this working? And it was driving me mad until I tried it on PC, and then it was
you move to mouse and keyboard and it works amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I say amazing in very loose terms.
Works.
It works. The characters, some of the characters were really well voiced and really well motion captured as well. Scott Shelby, go on, Joey.
Who? Because when you said that, I genuinely thought, were they?
Scott Shelby was okay. Madison Page was okay. But we're talking okay in a sea of shit, really. To what Tim said about the hardware capabilities possibly being a factor for the motion capture limitations, the year after this, LA Noire came out, which is sort of a masterclass in facial animation for video games. At the time, it was.
At the time, yeah, but if you look at some of the stuff now where it's like, you got that really famous interrogation meme where the guy was like, I swear I didn't know where that woman went, and he looks around the room like a bee's in his mouth.
Like the woman was in the room with them.
Yeah.
What else? We're going into spoiler territories here a little bit. I don't know how that car killed Jason because it must have been going about 2 miles an hour. The character controls are god awful. The characters move like drunk toddlers, and if this game has a similar sort of cameras to things like Resident Evil, where when you move into a new location, it'll change the angle, or you can forcibly change the angle to get a better perspective on things, which is great. But if you're moving your character while you do that, they do a 180 on the spot and turn right back around into the other camera angle. Just weird. Some of the character choices were a bit weird, like choices that characters were making during the story were a bit weird. There's a scene where he's crawling through a tunnel in the power plant and there's loads of glass in front of him, and he crawls over the glass rather than sweeping the glass away. And just things like that. I resented the 12 hours that I played this. No. I completed it, but my God, I resented it. And that's my... Like I say, it does have some positives to it, but it's encased in a lot of not very good.
Okay. I would love to sit here and say I disagree with all of it. I don't. I think the game controlled horribly. The quick time events took you well out of the perspective, the whole story. I think that some of the decisions that, like you said, like characters made were absolutely insane. There was a point where you had to try and seduce a mob boss as Madison Page if you got to that branch in the story, and the way that she decided to do it was to make herself look sexy by tearing her clothes. And I just I get short skirt, but just literally ripping it off with your hands was gonna just make you look like an insane lost fentanyl addict rather than someone sexy in the club. I didn't get that. I think that some of the facial animations were so terrible they were laughable, and also I think, Tim, when you said about the twist being ridiculous, I don't agree that it comes out of nowhere. But I think I said to you after about an hour and a half of playing it, I think that Scott Shelby is the origami killer. And I had no idea, big spoiler, he is. I said when I first played it, after the first scene that we played Scott Shelby, oh, I think he's the origami killer. And I think it was because the first time you see him, he's in a really seedy location interviewing prostitutes that he seems very familiar with. And it's like they really want to emphasize every personality thing about that character. Oh, well, he's very obviously not following the law, so he's going to do the worst thing of the worst, which is be the origami killer. And I was right from the offset, so I wasn't surprised in the slightest. But what really annoys me about this game is, towards the end of my playthrough, I found myself going, I really want to know how this pans out next. I really want to know what happens next. And I really enjoyed the story. I think, Alex, you hit the nail on the head. With this doesn't work that well for a game. It would work much better in a visual novel or another medium. However, I don't know how you could work in the kind of
The branching storylines and
the branching storyline. Yeah, I don't know how you could work that into that, but yeah, something I actually think your idea of doing it akin to the Telltale's Walking Dead or any Telltale game really would work a lot better than what they did. But I didn't hate my time playing it, so 10 and a half hours it took me to complete this. Tim, how long did it take you?
I'm just looking that up now. I also looked up when did Telltale's The Walking Dead come out to see if it was something they could have drawn inspiration from.
I think it was after, wasn't it?
It was 2 years after. Heavy Rain took me 9 hours.
9 hours. So you're looking at between 9 and 12 hours is the length of time that it took us. So it's not an insignificant amount, but it's not the longest thing in the world. I think there probably is some replayability if you're really desperate to see what the different endings are, but the origami killer is never going to change, so you'll always know who the big twist is. So let's get into the story. This might be a bit difficult because of the branching storylines, but what I would like to do is I'd like to read at you as it happened for me and interrupt and let me know where it changed for you guys. Okay?
Yep.
So Ethan Mars is the first person you play as. He lives a really peaceful life with his wife and sons, Jason and Sean. And one day when they're at the mall, Ethan is watching Jason and he goes missing. Hence the Jason meme that you have no doubtedly seen elsewhere. Jason wanders out in front of the mall and he gets hit by a car and dies. 2 years pass and Ethan is depressed and estranged from his wife. He struggles to connect with his son and he takes Sean to the park in an effort to connect with him better. Ethan blacks out and Sean disappears. And it turns out that Sean has been kidnapped by the origami killer. The story now splits off into different playable characters, but Ethan receives an origami figure with a phone and instructions for how to save his son. We then meet Scott Shelby, who's a private investigator investigating the victims' families of the origami killer to help them find the killer. And he seems like a very helpful investigator. He's speaking to a lady who's had her son kidnapped and killed years ago, wants to find out more, but no one really wants to speak about the origami killer. We then meet Norman Jaden, who is, one, useless, but two, an FBI profiler assigned to local police to help them catch the killer. He uses his AI VR-inspired glasses, which, guys, can we agree that the glasses are the worst part of this game?
The entire FBI investigator side of thing is the most egregious part of the game for me, and it is entirely themed around the glasses.
And it doesn't make sense either, because the rest of it you could convince yourself is sort of like an 80s film noir type of murder mystery type of thing, and then suddenly this guy pops out some VR glasses and only one glove, but you can use both hands in the VR, so technology.
Really annoying. So the VR glasses help him scan crime scenes for extra clues, which I just did not get. They also help him look at files and potential origami killers and where they might be on a map, etc., etc. We also find out that he is addicted to, and I'm going to butcher the name, tryptocanine,
Something like that, yeah.
And every now and then he goes all wobbly and has to have a hit of his drugs, otherwise he'll die, basically. We then meet Madison Page, who is an insomniac journalist who we meet in her apartment when people come in to try and kill her for reason.
Pass.
Why did they try and kill her?
Oh, I don't know.
Alex?
My only reasoning I can think of is that she was looking into the origami killer before this, and someone didn't like that, so or it's something to do with a previous story that she broke that maybe someone didn't like.
But it was never explained, was it?
It was never
just two
explained,
guys
no.
that tried to kill her.
Yeah.
It was more
in
than
her
two.
apartment.
There was about 4 of them, wasn't there?
Oh, I have no idea. But they basically tried to kill her in her apartment. And then she says to Ethan when she meets him at the motel that sometimes she goes to motels because she can sleep there, which I didn't get either.
I just
No.
need to bring something up about her apartment.
Okay.
Why did she have 3 showers next to
Why
each
did
other?
she have 3 showers?
It was like a gym locker room almost.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the open loft aesthetic of like your New York
Yes.
style apartments.
I can appreciate that, but 3
But
showers.
3 showers is egregious.
She's 1 person last time.
3 showers, that's insane.
Yeah.
It just seems like something that probably could have been picked up on and maybe taken out.
Probably should have been taken out.
Yeah.
Right, so from here we move back to Ethan, and the whole thing with Ethan is he has to complete 5 trials to save Sean from the origami killer. The origami killer is killing children by locking them in a storm grate when there is heavy rain, hence the name of the game, and within 7 days the storm gate will fill up and the child will drown, and then he dumps their body with an orchid and a little origami thing, hence the name the origami killer. I'm going to read out the trials, guys. Just let me know if you completed them, okay?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Drive against traffic.
Yep,
So
did
drive
it.
head on
Yep.
into traffic. Completed it?
Does crashing it at the end count?
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
always crash at the end regardless.
Right, okay.
Tim?
Yep, did it.
Great. Crawl through glass and electricity.
Yep.
This was the power plant, wasn't it?
It
Wait,
was.
I
So-
failed it at the end though, and I was because like he tripped over on like a wire or something, and I was like, okay, I'll just get back up and carry on. It was like, oh look, the door, and he just walked out.
I've
So
got
you didn't
something-
get the...
No, didn't get it.
Oh, okay, cool. Alex?
Mine's even stupider. You get part way through, and then there's a door that has the word "coward" written on it, which is obviously designed as a "get out if you can't be bothered doing it" type of thing. But I wanted to explore, so I had a little look through the door, and it came up with "leave or stay." Now you move into the room, and you get "leave or stay." And I selected leave, thinking that meant leave the little room you're in and go back into the power plant. Instead, you leave the power plant and you fail the trial.
Nice. Tim?
That was the exact door that I went through after tripping over a bit of electrical wire halfway through a puzzle.
Okay, cool. So you both 1 for 2, and I did 2 for 2 here. The next one is cut off a finger.
Yep, did
Yeah.
that.
What
Yeah,
did you
what
do
did
it
you-
with?
The knife that was in the wall.
Yeah.
I did it with the garden shears. There was like pruning
Nice.
shears on the floor.
Oh, vile. It doesn't really make any difference, does it? Apart from the fact that it's always your pinky finger that you cut the end off of. Although, I don't know, big spoilers here for my ending. When Sean was fine and they were looking at their brand new apartment and everyone was happy, and Ethan was chasing Sean around the new apartment, his finger had grown back and everything was good again.
Maybe he's got a VR finger.
Maybe he's got a VR finger. So we move on to number 4. So we're 2 for 3, 2 for 3, and I had 3 for 3 here. Kill an innocent man.
I didn't kill him.
Okay. Tim, you're 50%. Alex, did you kill him?
I killed him.
Nice. I didn't kill him because I failed and he shot me with a shotgun and then went, "You get out of here before I kill you." And I was like, "You just hit me point blank with a shotgun. I think I'm not okay." So that was the first one I failed. And then, Alex, Tim, did you drink the poison for the 5th and final trial?
Sure did.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good man. So, Alex, you did all 5 for 5?
No, I failed the power plant.
Oh, no, you failed the power plant. Oh, that's a shame. 4 for 5. I had 4 for 5. Tim, you had 3 for 5.
Yep.
Cool. So the idea in these trials is each time you do them, you get a little bit more of an address, which tells you exactly where Sean is. Throughout all of this, you have maybe, depending on your choices, sparked a romantic relationship with Madison Page, who is investigating the origami killer. Did you guys spark the romantic interest?
I'm going to say no because I don't remember doing that.
Oh, if you did, you would remember because I might have got the most awkward sex scene I've ever seen in a video game.
Oh, no, definitely didn't get that then.
It was so awkward, I didn't even mind spoiling it for Alex, and I showed him while it was happening. Was it not the most hilariously bad thing you've ever seen?
It was. They might as well have just cut to black and insinuated that it happened.
It was like, you've seen Team America, obviously, Tim, because we watched it for Two Blokes. Alex, you've seen Team America, haven't you? It was like the sex scene in Team America.
Was it like the sex scene in Ride to Hell Retribution?
I haven't seen it played yet.
Oh, it's bad. Really bad.
Cool. So I sparked romantic relationship. Tim didn't. Alex, did you?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I was at the point in the game where I was going, I just need to get through this. So then she started with all the, I'm going to try and kiss you. And I was like, nope.
Get out of here.
That's going to lead to things.
Okay, cool. So Madison is uncovering the secrets of the origami killer, as is Scott Shelby, and Norman Jayden, the FBI agent, is just dicking about with his glasses. I'm going to go to Norman Jayden and his glasses because I know one of you managed to kill him. So we go to Mad Jack. Mad Jack is someone who steals cars for people and stole the car that the origami killer is using. And Norman Jayden goes to his yard and decides to fight a man 4 times his size. Now, Tim, what the hell happened here?
I was not paying attention and wound up being cubed in a car compactor.
So you died in the car compactor?
I died in the car compactor, like really early on in the chapter. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess I don't need to play his story anymore.
Well, no, you didn't. Alex, did you kill Norman Jayden?
No.
No? Okay. So my last thing with Norman Jayden, and I'll ask Alex, I'll ask yours in a second. My last interaction with him was Ethan got arrested and I managed to sneak him out of the police station with Norman because I believed he was innocent, as I knew he was innocent. And I snuck him out so that he could complete the trials and save Sean. However, I then went and intentionally accused the wrong person of being the origami killer because I knew it would fail the story for Norman Jayden and I would not have to play him anymore. So I wouldn't have to use those goddamn glasses. Alex, what was your last interaction with the FBI agent?
I had what you just explained there, but I didn't accuse anyone at the time. So I got a further scene with him a bit down the line where you've basically been told by what's is it Blake, the arsehole?
The other detective who just beats up.
Yeah, I think it's Blake.
witnesses. Yeah.
Yeah, he basically tells you, "Oh, like it's time for you to f off," kind of thing. And then you sit in your little cubicle for a little bit, with your glasses, going over all the evidence. But then you figure out that the origami killer is a cop when you're reviewing all the evidence, because you replay through the fight at the nightclub that you have as Jaden.
Yeah.
And you work out that the watch he's wearing is the watch that they give to new lieutenants at the precinct. So you figure out that the attacker must have been a cop. And my mind automatically went, "Oh, it must be Blake then." At no point did I ever think Shelby was the killer. But yeah, and then you review all the evidence, and I assume that if you've collected enough evidence through previous chapters, you can figure out that it's Shelby. I didn't have enough evidence, so my only option was give up, which I did.
You just went back to Washington like, no, I'm
Yep.
done. I'm done here.
Done, bye.
Okay, cool. So, Scott Shelby's story. Scott Shelby's story involves breaking into a caravan owned by someone who's trying to kill themselves while their baby cries in the other room, which was awful. I can't remember if that's where Laura came from. Was that Laura?
No, Laura was
No.
before. Lauren was before that.
Lauren. Was Lauren the prostitute at the start?
Lauren was the prostitute at the start.
Okay. And Lauren, the prostitute from the start, tags along at some point because she really wants to get involved.
She's just bored.
Yeah, she's just bored. She has a letter. She has a letter from the origami killer that written on a typewriter. So, that's another thing I'll come back to. Written on a typewriter so that we can go to a typewriter merchant, whatever they're actually called, a specialist, and say, "Do you know whose typewriter this is?" And he says yes, and then he mysteriously dies whilst you're in the same room as him. You wipe down the shop for all of your fingerprints because that's what innocent people do.
Yep.
And then you carry on investigating. The point with Scott Shelby is he keeps going back to his desk. And when you're handed this letter written on a typewriter, and he goes, "Ooh, it's written on a typewriter. That could be a big clue." She hands it you over a typewriter. And I thought, I can think of one suspect I have that has a typewriter.
I never cottoned on to that.
They said it about 7 times while he was looking at the typewriter. He might as well have had it here and gone, "Oh, he must like typewriters."
Along with the note that said "look down."
Yeah, exactly. There was a fun scene where Lauren said, "Everything is a bit much. I'm going to go for a shower in your apartment." And then you go, "Good idea, I'll make you some eggs." And you make the most delicious looking eggs I've ever seen in all of video games.
I had the most depressing looking eggs. Lauren even said to me, "Is this what you call eggs?"
Wow.
I think I had
Did you
the
get
same
that as well?
response. Yeah.
I mean, I cooked the eggs. I got an achievement for cooking the eggs perfectly. However, they still look like homogeneous sludge. They did not look good. But
Yum yum.
there is a point where Madison visits Scott Shelby's mum in the hospital, and it was a frustrating back and forth with a woman who couldn't remember that she had a son until you reminded her by doing origami in front of her, which was absolutely wild. Did either of you have that scene?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Did you do all of the origami like I did and got it wrong every single time?
No, I do remember this because you make a bunch of different animals, don't you?
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
And every time they use the same voice line when you get it wrong that goes, "I love origami, but that's not my favorite." And eventually you make a dog and she goes, "Oh, my son made dogs and he calls them Max. They're all called Max. Every dog is called Max." And you have to really frustratingly go, what's your other son's name? And then she talks about her own one son who's the name of the whole time until you bring her an orchid. And it was very arduous and confusing because the orchid was in another room and it never told you to leave the room.
No.
So I only found it because I thought I had to walk out of the building and then saw a prompt to pick up the orchid. But then she, and this is really funny because they're the only two in the room, and she goes, "What's your other son's name?" And this would reveal who the origami killer is. But instead of just saying it, the mother goes, "Come in close, my dear," and whispers it in your ear in a room where there's only you two. And also, the mother had no idea that would reveal him as a murderer. So it was bad. And then Madison goes to Scott's apartment. She finds a secret room full of orchids and origami and things that say, "I am a murderer." Mwahaha.
Look at all this blood I've collected.
I missed that note.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a note. It was written on the wall.
But they did it with a surprise wardrobe door in the most corny way possible.
Yeah, you open the wardrobe, move the clothes, and then she looks at it and she might as well have gone, that wall doesn't look real. And then the password for the computer was Max, like the dog.
Yeah.
Scott Shelby. They're all called Max. They're always called Max. Scott Shelby finds you and tries to kill you by burning down his own apartment with you inside.
For a guy who doesn't have a problem with killing individuals, I feel like he's just cut off his nose to spite his face there by getting rid of his apartment.
Yeah, I agree. Did you both escape with Madison?
Yeah.
There's a few ways you could do it. Did you all Indiana Jones it?
Yes.
As in hide in the fridge?
Yeah, hide in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you hide in the fridge, because Scott, for some reason, has an enormous butane tank that he just carries around with him in this scene.
He's got a big coat, ready to be explode.
In that. Yeah, ready to explode. And he leaves it on the desk for you to die. But the only way you can survive is by hiding in the fridge. So this enormous explosion blows out all the windows of the apartment. And if you hide in the fridge, you don't see any way that Madison gets out of the apartment. She just suddenly is in the street coughing. So I can only assume that she was rocketed out the fridge but landed on her feet outside.
Yeah.
She gets on her bike as if nothing happens, drives to the place where Sean is being kept. Did you both get Sean out with Ethan?
Yes.
Well done. She meets Sean there, but Scott Shelby is also there. And here, maybe a bit before, it is revealed the reason that he does this is because Scott Shelby's brother, John, was killed when he was running away from Scott and got his foot stuck in an underground pipe while playing hide and seek.
God, I forgot about this on a construction site. Yep.
On a construction site. And because of the heavy rain, all of the rainwater was forcing him under. And when he tried to get his dad to help, his dad was too drunk and useless to help. So his brother John died. So the point in the Origami Killer is to find a dad who is willing to die to save their son.
But I feel like child Scott Shelby, who was on this construction site with his brother in a very clearly built up area, like it looked like the middle of Brooklyn, could just shout, "Help, my brother is drowning." And one of the many construction crew who seemingly were all on lunch at the same time, or just neighbors, could help.
We also talk about the fact that their caravan that they lived in was on the construction site.
Yep.
Like, not even through a fence, it was just on the site.
Yeah. And there's obviously
how are you meant to play hide and seek and chase what in a construction site if you don't live in it?
But there's obviously no sense of urgency, because I'll be honest, it took me longer than I care to admit to find the caravan. But I must have been wandering around for a very, very long time while John is just sat there going, "Oh, water's a bit chilly, isn't it?"
I like the bit where John died and he went, "Never forget me, Scott." And then he just dies without his face underwater, but he's insinuated to have drowned.
It's like he drowned because his ears were underwater. It's really dumb.
I have missed out a whole story with Scott trying to investigate the origami killer, of which he is, but annoying a very rich mob family. Did you guys do a lot of that?
God, I forgot it. There was like the whole party mansion thing.
The party
Yeah,
mansion
there
was
was the party
irritating.
mansion. There was the
Driving
rooftop
range.
golf. Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
there was the car in the lake.
clear
well,
something up
this
for me
is
here.
this is where I was going to talk to you about the car in the lake. But Tim, you go first, please.
Yeah, clear something up for me here because this conversation is making me realize how just dumb this game is. Like, it's just really dumb. Does Scott Shelby, whatever, have some sort of split personality disorder?
No.
Then why the hell is he investigating the origami killer that he knows that he already is?
I think he's trying to pin it. I think part of the problem is because Lauren's now following him around. He has to actually try and pin it. I think he's been
But he
before
went to
now.
Lauren first.
Yeah, but not as
He's a private investigator who's been hired by some of the families.
so he's having to give the
it's dumb.
illusion,
It's really
Yeah.
dumb.
presumably.
However, you annoy basically a mob family, and they throw you and Lauren off a bridge in a car into the world's deepest river. Did you guys save Lauren?
No.
No.
No, me neither. You can save Lauren.
Oh.
I tried to, but when I did, I didn't realize that the option it was telling me to do was break the window on Lauren's side. I thought it was to remove the ropes around her hands.
Yeah.
So what I did was kick the window through next to her and swim past her while she plummeted to her death.
Yep. About the same.
And then we had the hilarious shootout in the mansion where your gun was never reloaded but shot. I counted 37 people.
It was a minigun.
Yeah, did you? So at the end of the conversation with the mob boss, where he tries to hire you, you can spare him, and he starts to have a heart attack. Did you give him his heart medication?
No.
No.
We are very alike. I didn't either. I let the could die. So going back to Sean and the Stormgate, Scott Shelby turns up and says, "Now you all know who I am. Despite saying I'll save you, I'm going to kill you all anyway."
Wahaha.
And yeah, he wrote that on the wall again. Muhahaha. There
I'm
was
the
a
villain.
very awkward chase scene between Scott and Madison where you end up on the top of a crane and he's going to shoot you, but then Ethan, who has been shot and is apparently dead, is suddenly at the top of the crane and shoots him and he falls off and dies in the water. Did you all get the same ending as me?
Yes.
I don't remember that ending, so I'm guessing not, but equally I don't
What
remember how
happened,
it
Tim?
I don't remember. It's part of the problem.
Okay. So after that, this is where you get the final ending. And the final ending for me, because I had the romantic thing with Madison, was Ethan and Madison get an apartment together, and Sean is running around happy in the apartment, and Madison turns to Ethan and says, "It's like we can all put this behind us and pretend like it never happened." And that was it. That was the end.
That's
of the
how
game.
trauma works.
That is exactly how trauma works.
Never mind your
what
other dead child.
what happened in the final section of your game, Alex?
I don't remember because the pop-up came up to say that I'd completed Heavy Rain and I alt F4'd so fast. I didn't
Wow.
realise there was a post-credit scene.
That wasn't post-credit.
Well, it said that I'd completed the game, so I alt F4'd.
Oh, okay. Tim?
Again, don't remember. Like, to give you guys an idea, I played this about a month ago, and I don't remember.
Okay. Cool. So the endings, the outcomes you can get are Sean can either be saved or die. Ethan can be alive, jailed, or die. Norman can be sober or addicted or dead. Madison can be dead or alive. And Scott Shelby can be exposed and dead or free and alive. So those are your multiple endings. There's your replay value. That's at least 100 hours of gameplay. So it's got to be like good value for money, right, guys? Right?
In the same way that going to the tip has a lot of valuable things in it, sure.
Can I just say, Tim, going to the tip is one of my favourite
I
things
love
to
going
do.
to the tip.
So
I
you
absolutely.
must love Heavy Rain. So, Tim, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, what are your scores?
I mean, I
Recommend?
no, absolutely not.
Okay.
I am going to give this thing a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
I don't think it was particularly interesting on a visual level. In parts, it was downright laughably ugly. Its soundtrack was passable. As Alex put, the sound design was bad. Gameplay was just QTE after QTE after QTE. The only real draw for this for me is, and I will give credit here, the myriad of branching paths to the point that I believe that no two playthroughs could be alike within a reasonable degree. Well, I say within a reasonable amount of playthroughs. You could play this game 2 or 3 times and not get the same outcome, but you are still very likely to have had the same outcome as someone else.
Okay. So 4 out of 10, not a recommend. Alex?
Believe it or not, I don't recommend. If they made a movie of this
Which
or a
they were
TV
going
series,
to.
and I assume
They were
didn't
going
be
to, but it's been canned, yeah.
good. If they had done
Good.
if they had done a TV show or a movie, that could have been really good. If they'd done like we said before, if they'd done a Telltale style game, that could have been really good. The fact that they've tried to tell this story on in an action RPG type of game, where the only gameplay element is unresponsive QuickTime events, it really detracts from the story. And to be fair, the story they were trying to tell wasn't bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. Sound design was awful. The music was okay at parts. The animation was awful. The controls were awful. And I think it's a 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah,
Is one of you inputting this into the spreadsheet, by the way?
Yeah.
Cool.
I did not enjoy my time with it, and the only redeeming feature of it is it could have been better as a different medium.
Okay. So, I have a couple of Steam reviews here, and I would like you guys to say whether you agree or not with them. First one, doesn't play so well with mouse and keyboard, but it's much easier with a controller.
What?
I didn't play mouse and keyboard at all, but on Steam Deck, half the time it translates okay, half the time it doesn't.
Okay, cool. Well, controller flat out didn't work, so
Correct.
that hence Alex's response. So gameplay often feels like less of a race to save a child's life and more of a battle to get your character to turn their head in the right direction.
Yeah.
Controls are clunky, to put it mildly, especially in high stakes scene where pushing a button a fraction of a second too early or too late can spell disaster.
You found my
Agree.
review.
Big agree.
Yeah.
And then finally, and this was someone who has 165 hours on record, a game where you can dramatically yell Jason in public and it's considered immersive gameplay. Masterpiece.
Yeah.
They just leave the game running for a couple of days or something. How do you have 165 hours?
I have no idea.
I'd like to talk to that person.
I played this game in 2 major chunks, and I told Tim about this. I haven't told you, Alex. I played it while I was ill. And when I was ill, I started having weird fever dreams where I would have horrible, horrific dreams about Heavy Rain.
No, you
And
did
I said
tell me
to
this.
Tim, did I? I said to Tim, if we're recording this weekend, I'm not completing it because it's genuinely giving me nightmares that I'm waking up constantly from. I'm so tired. I just can't do it. Thankfully, that was a few weeks ago, and I'm really glad I finished it. I agree completely that this game has not aged well. It looks terrible. It handles dreadfully. The acting performances are beyond ridiculous and wooden. The twist is easily projected. If you want to call it a twist, it's campy, it's over the top. But I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the story to the point where I really wanted to know what was going to happen. I would give it 7 out of 10. Genuinely would give it 7 out of 10. But the VR glasses sections were so bad. They were so out of place, and they were so tearing from the main story that I'm genuinely bumping it down to a 5 out of 10.
Wow.
That, like, if this was any other game and it was minor, I would say 6 out of 10. Just 1 point, or 6.5 out of 10, half a point. But these sections, I think, of my 10-hour playthrough, 2 of them were trying to navigate the glasses.
Yeah.
Because they were awful. So yeah, 5 out of 10 is what I give it. And I think there are later David Cage games. I think Detroit Become Human is meant to be quite good.
Yep.
I've not played it, but I've heard it's meant to be good, and it's a fairly similar ilk to Heavy Rain. If you want a game for a really good immersive, well, no, not immersive. If you want a game for a good story, Heavy Rain is fine. If you want a game for a good game, you will not find it here. So 5 out of 10 and a not recommend is my final score.
The best way to experience Heavy Rain in its current state is to go onto YouTube and find a commentator-free playthrough.
Or a commentary playthrough. It doesn't really
Or a
matter.
commentary playthrough, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think a commentary playthrough makes more sense because you'll understand their decisions a bit better. So what does that give us as an average score?
3.83 recurring.
Wow, it's a whopper, and it's a far cry from the 9 out of 10 IGN gave it, and the 10 out of 10 commonsensemedia.org gave it.
I recognise it just would have been something really different for the time, but different is not always good.
No, COVID was different.
Yeah.
So not recommend. 3.83?
3.83.
3.83. Don't do it. Just play a later one of Quantic Dream or whatever they're called games. What are we doing next time on mainline episodes, Tim?
Mainline episode, next game. We're throwing it back, and also we're playing a game. Pokemon Soul Silver or Heart Gold, depending on each of our preferences. That is the same
game, aren't they?
Same game, just obviously different sides of the coin because they always do 2 releases. Join us in 4 weeks for that? Yep. Cool.
Yep, 4 weeks. Nice. Okay. Well, we've been talking for an hour. I guess there's only one thing we can leave with this episode with. Jason.
Jason. Oh,
Jason.
where's he gone?
Jason. This episode contains spoilers for this episode. Sorry, let me try that again.
Episode.
This episode.
Episode.